Welcome to the Heart of Giving. This program is devoted to the nonprofits in the city of Long Beach, the groups that work on so many things in our community that make our community better. Today we have a foundation. The foundation is one that's very important to our city in a different way. We're so pleased to have Sarah Myers here with us today, who is the director or CEO of the Long Beach Library Foundation. Now, that has been in town, I know, since 1996 because I was involved then.
Yes.
But it has grown to be something that is so useful and so necessary for our city because, you know, Long Beach is not alone. Many times when cities have to cut back, they say, well, we can cut back on this, and it's usually recreation or libraries. I mean,
Yes.
It seems to be all the time. But we've kept ours alive, our library alive, and I'm so proud of the city for that. But I know that the foundation has had a lot to do with that because they've provided things that the library wasn't able to provide. So I'm going to throw the whole thing to you and tell me about you. Did you come to Long Beach for this job, or were you here?
I did. I came to Long Beach for this job. I grew up in Torrance, and prior to working in the nonprofit industry, I actually worked for ExxonMobil. So I saw the corporate side and was on the giving side, but I always had a heart for nonprofits. So I was really pleased to come to Long Beach and take this position in, it was about 7 years ago. This is my 7th year.
Is that
already,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't have known
Time
that.
flies.
My goodness. So what is the mission of the Long Beach
Library Foundation? Yeah, the mission really is to support the library and especially the education and literacy programs, and to encourage education and literacy for all members of the community. And we primarily, as you know, do that through our family learning centers. It's a space in every library, and we have 12 in Long Beach, that is there for equal access to serve families on whatever their educational or aspirations are, and they can come in and get resources, do job and resume assistance, learn the English language, homework, anything they need, and then most important, equal and free access to the technology that many of us take for granted.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I remember when they started, and the people that donated to open one here, and then other people donated to open one here, and
Yes.
so that it was the city of Long Beach, the people, that really put those learning centers in place.
Absolutely.
And they're in every library?
And they still are today, and we're starting to change a little bit and evolve into the Family Learning Center of the future. So there's several exciting projects about how we might have more access to digital labs. There's going to be a Family Learning Center of the future, how we can serve veterans, and we're expanding to all different populations and segments of the community.
And are these learning centers filled with people that are interested in?
Yes.
Is that right?
A lot of people are wondering, well, who uses the library these days? And I'm proud to tell you that we had 1.3 million visitations to our library system in Long Beach last year, and probably about 46,000 visitations to the Family Learning Center. So
is that right?
There's just so many families that don't have that internet and computer access.
Well,
and if you
absolutely.
can imagine everything you need to do on a computer, the library is still that access to those tools.
And if somebody comes in there and doesn't even know how to punch the button, you have somebody that helps them?
Absolutely. The librarians are there to help people navigate all of this information, all of these new devices. We have workers, for example, who might be applying for a job at one of the hotels, and they won't use a computer in that position, but they have to apply online. And they arrive at the library having never used a mouse. So it's a lot of access to that, and people come in asking every question under the sun, from taxes to health issues to bullying to 12-step programs. Wherever they are on their journey in life, they need someone who treats them with respect and compassion and can help answer their questions and point them in the right direction.
And do children use them for their homework?
They do. Yes, they really do. A lot of children, teachers now have assignments that are due on a computer, whether you have a computer or not. And then a lot of children need help navigating the internet. You know, you can find Christopher Columbus, when he sailed the ocean blue, on 3 different websites. There's as many different answers as there are websites. So who helps you navigate and tells you what's true and what's not, and how to figure out what to trust? and the librarians are still experts at that.
This is an off-the-subject question, but do the children know how to do the computer more than the parents?
Some do. We have something called an awe station for very young children, 3 years old, colorful keys and headphones, and I've never seen those stations empty when I give tours and look at those. So those children really are, they're learning to scroll and use those like never before, which is great.
Well, there was a story about a very well-known man who had his grandson teach him how to do the computer, and this man had led things in the world.
Yeah.
And his grandson was telling him how to work his computer
Yes.
so that he could get it done, because, you know, it's a generational thing.
It's a real need.
So.
Right now we're launching, we do have ebooks, and you can check them out on any device, a Kindle, a Nook, an iPad, but people need assistance with how do you use those devices, and, and many people don't even realize that service is already available.
Now, in addition to that, what are the normal services, the former normal services of the library?
The library, what we're looking at is people sort of think of a library as a traditional warehouse for print books, and I think that's the perception among many people. So they're concerned about how is this still relevant today, but I can tell you the story is just emerging. So we have, for example, places where people come where they're trying to just have a quiet space, for example, in this time of digital and noise and advertising. It's still a place that respects you, your individuality, and your work, and you can come in and be respected for that. So a quiet space. Children's story times are still very popular. We're now expanding to help families with autism. Many of the parents are frustrated because it's hard to take their child out into the community. If they have a meltdown and they're in a restaurant, they never get to go to the movies. So we actually have a film series for families with autism, and they can come in, they leave the lights on, the music and the sound is a little lower, and they're there with like-minded families, and they can have special snacks for dietary needs, and it's growing in popularity. We've been doing it about once a month. So it's rethinking about the library just for books and more of a community space where people come together with their needs and learn together.
And one of the things that I remember that was started years ago was the section of the library for those that couldn't reach high to get the books.
Yes.
They had to have access for the wheelchairs.
Yes. Our information center for people with disabilities, award-winning, and it just moved upstairs for even easier access.
Oh, that's better.
So we've opened a whole area, a brand new paint and a window, and it's with all the other computers in a central area, and it helped for exits in case of an emergency, to have all of those people. And it's actually used by, the top by volunteers. So volunteers with physical disabilities themselves help in a peer-to-peer relation.
That's wonderful,
Yeah.
because I remember that there was a section of, you know, the thing with the handle at the bottom, and the holders at the top, so that they would get the books down from the library, because they couldn't work on it otherwise.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's an award-winning?
Yes.
Oh, I loved
and
hearing
it's
that.
expanding to help our veterans. We have so many veterans returning from Afghanistan, and there's actually a statistic that about 88% of them returning to school will drop out, because in the military it's very regimented, but now they're coming back to Long Beach and trying to figure out what is that next step. And so we've launched a project called Coming Home Long Beach to help centralize all the online resources, and then invite them in if they're suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, anything like that. The veterans the resources can be very overwhelming and hard to navigate. So again, the library is doing what it does best and just helping be that friendly, open environment where we can help you navigate.
Well, you know, when people think of libraries, they think of books, librarians, and quiet. And we've emerged a long ways from that.
Yeah.
But they still need to have some books.
Yes, yes.
And I know that we went through a time years ago about where the library had no money to buy books.
Yes.
And the foundation came forward.
Yes, the books and materials budget has been cut by over 50%, and it's really up to estate gifts and corporate gifts and a lot of gifts through the foundation. Since our inception, we've raised over $15 million for the library, and it's really to help those enrichment services. It doesn't replace what the city does, it enriches what the city does, and we've been able to really try to help with their books and materials, but it still suffers.
And they also have a digital library, with the books.
Yes, so those are those e-books that I was mentioning. You can download them, and once you're done reading them on whatever device, it actually deletes itself off the device, returns virtually to the library with no fines anymore.
Right.
So a lot of people don't realize this is already there. It's an app. You can even read a book on your smartphone. You can access Mango languages and learn over 13 different languages from whatever smart pad or laptop. And what we're finding is this isn't replacing print books. Print books, the usage is still on the rise. However, we're bringing a different segment and increasing the usage. So people who haven't been back to a library in a while are coming back, and so ebooks are rising as well.
Also with finding out about Christopher Columbus.
Yes.
You can go and check in, and it's already there.
Yeah.
All the information you need to know.
Exactly. And you can trust those citations.
Absolutely.
And you can go back to the original source. And for researchers and students, this is really important. You can't just trust what you find on Wikipedia.
That's right. Well, I am so pleased that you're here and telling us about this very important. So, do you use volunteers?
We do. I'm excited. We're just involved with the campaign for grade level reading. And it's a great opportunity for volunteers to get involved and read to
reading
kids.
with children.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Oh, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you all for watching. What a great show. This is really informative. And so please come back. We have another segment.
Hi, I'm Judy Ross. I'm the Executive Director of the Long Beach Nonprofit Partnership. And we are so delighted to be partnering with Beverly O'Neill and PadNet, our new public access television network, with the Heart of Giving. This is an opportunity to really showcase our wonderful nonprofits in our community. The Long Beach Nonprofit Partnership helps nonprofits become strong and sustainable.
Welcome back to the Heart of Giving. This segment, we have an organization that doesn't meet daily. It has projects yearly, but it takes almost a year to get the projects together. And I'm going to introduce first Pete Glazer, because he's been involved since early 1990s, 97 or something, 96. And then he will introduce Marianne. And so Pete, I'm going to stop with you first because I've known you for a long time.
Yes.
And the first time I met you, you were involved, and I was mayor, you were talking about, you were involved with Christmas in April.
Yes. Yes, Christmas in April was an organization a nonprofit organization, our precursor, the name to what we have right now. It started, I believe, in the early 70s and somewhere in Texas, where a group of folks in the community fixed up a house for a lady. She was in need of serious repairs, and it happened to be the fourth Saturday in April, and when it was all done, she said, "I'm so happy. This is just like Christmas in April."
And it got its
and
name.
that was the name, and it built, and to this day we have about 200 affiliates across the country, individual affiliates.
And did they all change their name?
Well, most of them did. It was around 2002 that they had issues with trying to identify Christmas in April, because they didn't have anything to do with Christmas, and with what organization did, fixing up houses for people. And so they voted across the country to change the name, and I think there might be one of them that still kept the name.
And it is now called
Rebuilding Together.
That's right.
And it's Rebuilding Together Long Beach, Rebuilding Together Oakland, or Sacramento, all individual affiliates. And so that was around 2002.
And what is Rebuilding Long Beach?
Well, Rebuilding Together Long Beach is, the way I like to explain it is, we're kind of like Habitat, only we fix up houses for people that are already living there instead of building new houses for new people. And actually, I believe our impact is larger than Habitat for Humanity, because with over 200 affiliates across the country and all this work done, Marianne will know more about the statistics of what we do. I'm more on the construction side, being a contractor. We have an enormous impact by fixing up so many houses, and it's free labor.
Right, and when is it done? In April?
Well, we do it the last Saturday of April is a National Rebuilding Day. All across the country, we perform these services, and it's just that one Saturday.
Okay, but you get your you get your supplies, you get your members from where?
Correct. Well, we also do another day, and we paired with National Make a Difference Day in October. We do a rebuild day. But all year long, we plan for this. There's a group of board of directors and committee members that write grants. We seek donations from suppliers. As a contractor, I do work with a lot of suppliers, and we look for donated materials or reduced materials, and then the labor is free. Now, we have a large contingency of people who want to, through churches and organizations, want to volunteer, more of the less skilled in companies. And then we have the trade industry and in the trades that will donate their labor to do the more skilled work.
So skilled labor, people that can clean out things.
Yeah.
and
paint.
And paint. And I've seen some of them where they take all the stuff, the crud out of the garden and change that. And this is 2 times a year.
Yes.
And how many volunteers are there really on that day?
Well, we've had as many as 800 on a day come out. The last few years, probably from 150 to 350 in that range. And that's a big that's a lot of organizing to do.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Would you like to introduce the lady that organizes all those people?
This is Marianne Rose. I'm a past board member, past president. My time had come to pass the torch to a new group of people, and Marianne is our fearless leader. She's doing very well. She's been our president for 2 terms now, I believe.
And what do you do, Marianne?
Thanks, Beverly. So part of what I love about our organization is that it is all volunteer-based. So all of this work that Pete's talking about is done by people who are members of the Long Beach community who just want to come out and help their neighbors in some way. And so part of my role is to make sure that we have a place for every type of volunteer. So anyone who has any type of skill, it can be someone with extreme skilled labor and construction background like Pete, or it can be someone who wants to come out and work the check-in, or who wants to be responsible for the food that day with our volunteers, or do some painting. We do yard clearing. It can be anything. We always have a spot for our volunteers. So one of my roles is making sure our volunteers are energized and excited and feel like they're making a great contribution. And then the other is working with the committee members and the board members to really identify people in need in our community. In 2012, the average household income of our recipients was $22,000 a year. And for those of us who live in Long Beach, if you can imagine trying to build a life on $22,000 a year, you don't think about things like your plumbing or your roof, or that you need a wheelchair ramp, but you're just going to get by without it. So our organization is great to have people who want to do those things for our neighbors. So that's another role I think that is really important.
Just an example, I can remember being at one lady's house that you were helping years and years ago, and the flooring had come out of her bathroom, and it was hard for her to get to the bathroom because of that, and she had no hot water in her sink. And I still remember, how thrilled she was when someone came in and took care of the floor, and she didn't have to worry anymore, and had hot water, and people that haven't got water. And so the basic things you fix, and it's really so heartwarming to be part of that. How do you find the homes that are necessary repair? How do you find them?
Right now it's a lot of word of mouth, so we appreciate coming out for something like this, because I think that's a great way for people to know what we do. Right now it's been a lot of someone sees their neighbor gets services, or we have a network throughout different spiritual organizations or different social workers, or people who are cited by the city for different things. So folks apply for one of the 2 work days, and then we have a volunteer group that goes out and assesses what's needed at the house. And our primary focus is on the safety of the homeowners, and we want to make sure that they can continue to stay in their home, live in safety and comfort and warmth, so that if they don't have to then leave their house.
Mostly elderly people.
Seniors,
we
people
do
with
a lot
children,
of
persons with disabilities.
Too.
One great example we had that Pete and Diane, who's a past board president, also worked on, was a young man who was quadriplegic. He'd had a terrible stroke, and it had led to him becoming a quadriplegic. And through the work of his doctors, he actually had regained mobility in his upper body and now would be able to go to the washroom and bathe himself independently, but they didn't have a bathroom that could accommodate that. And so through volunteers and the grant writing, we were able to go in and actually put in an entire wet room. So we rocked out the whole bathroom and put in a whole tile room that had a drain, and he was then able to go in and be able to use that facility independently. And for him to have been fully able-bodied and then you know, being so dependent on others, and to have that little scrap of independence back, that was just really wonderful to see.
Well, and this happens when? It happened, the 2 dates you said?
April 20, it's the last Saturday of April.
Okay.
And I believe it's the 4th Saturday of October.
And so you have 800 people out on those days doing something wonderful for these families, these elderly people.
And we've this last year, we did like 19 projects in one day. And
that's what I was going to ask. How many do you do in a day?
We've done up as many as 19. There's preparatory work that we do, that if there's skilled labor, then I'll organize the skilled people to come in and do all the heavy construction, so that the finish, the painting and cleanup and grab bars and all that get done on that day.
Well, I love this. I really do. I think that it shows the buy-in by the community, because I know several companies, I think Boeing had a lot of...
They continue to participate.
Yeah, send a crowd of people on one of your projects. And they have a good day themselves, because usually the inhabitant is there. And they are so thrilled with everything. That one little lady I was mentioning had her rocking chair out in the porch and just watched people all day working on her house. And you know, they saw her and they saw how excited she was, and it was just good for everybody. So
well, it's not only good for the everybody. It's not just good for the recipients. It's even a lot of times better for the people doing the work.
And that's what I mean. They just really, they're so glad they're there, because they see what good this does. Well, I thank you so much, and if people want to get in touch with you, it's Rebuilding
Together.
I forget the word together. I want to say Rebuilding in Long Beach. Rebuilding Together in Long Beach. Very good. Thank you, Pete and Mary Ann. It's wonderful to find this out.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, you bet. I've heard wonderful stories. I hope you've enjoyed them too. People really working for the city, giving their time, their efforts. So please watch next time, because we're going to have 2 more really good segments.